Hi, I'm McArthur, Professor of Communication Studies at Furman University in Greenville, South Carolina, and I'm excited to join you alongside five of my students, Jaria Outten, Selena Taborn, Cal Meachem, Patrick Rice, and Ryan DeLuca, today to share with you about an ongoing study that we've been investigating at Furman University related to the places and spaces of video games. Our study explores the inhabited places present in video games through the use of textual analyses grounded in placemaking from Ronald Lee Fleming. This experience of digital, virtual, augmented, and online gaming is firmly rooted in place. A game's ability to invite a player into a new world is not a new idea for media. Books, radio, film, television, and other mediated versions of storytelling create vibrant worlds for fans to enjoy. But games allow us to inhabit the places built within them with varying degrees of success. In some cases, players inhabit video games through a kinship to their avatar on screen. Some games use players' bodily motion as a cue or cue markers to place players' motion into the game. Still others use geolocation to develop player relationships and invite competition into geographic and augmented places. And the most immersive games use multisensory technologies to offer players an increasingly media-rich experience of virtual place. This study seeks to inject the literary theory of placemaking into the study of video games through a growing collaborative project by undergraduate students to study the relationships between proxemics, Edward Hall, and the design of inhabited spaces in games. By first experiencing video games and then through deep textual analysis of the places and spaces they present, students have been exploring the potential role of placemaking in game design. Let's first start with an introduction to placemaking. One compelling application of experience design in spaces is in the context of placemaking. Ronald Lee Fleming, author of The Art of Placemaking, characterizes four elements of placemaking: orientation, connection, direction, and animation. Placemaking, he says, should be the handmaiden of urban design. It should enable an urban design strategy to vest itself through the creation of publicly accessible meanings. And I argue that this urban design flows over into augmented spaces that shape our cities and also into cities and places that are created in fully virtual and digital places. Fleming offers four design objectives that should be considered in the process of making a place: spatial orientation, connection, direction, and animation. In the context of placemaking, spatial orientation refers to the history of a geographic location. Spatial orientation typically requires research or prior knowledge about the place, which is often either unavailable to or hidden from the casual visitor to a geographic location. Secondly, connection refers to the semiotic cues present in the site that offer glimpses of the historical orientation. Often these might be statues, etchings, signs, or symbols of the historical place from which a visitor can glean information. Thirdly, direction refers to behavioral cues given to visitors about how to visit a place, where to go, how to find what they're seeking, how to move and navigate themselves through the space. Direction is often handled through wayfinding practices. And fourthly, animation refers to the experiences and actions that emerge inside of a visited place. As people use a place, both intended and unintended behaviors start to be realized over time. Given these descriptions, some questions to be addressed in considering placemaking might include: how does a visitor act out the orientation of a place? What do people do or how do they behave in a place? What unintended behaviors resulted from the specific design of the place? What improvements might be made to the place to encourage particular behaviors? This idea of placemaking has been used to study digital spaces and augmented spaces and hybrid spaces, noting that, like physical spaces, these digital spaces are designed specifically for particular types of user experience. In digital games, for example, these design cues could be presumed by users to be even more purposeful and intentional than the cues that exist in natural or terrestrial or physical spaces. Placemaking has been employed as a theoretical grounding in the study of literary places, as well as built spaces, such as monuments and memorials, public art, heritage sites, educational centers, libraries, and emerging digital spaces. Most recently, I wrote a paper on the Dali Airhigh Lake Science Education Center in Dali, China, and the way that the center uses digital and augmented reality to shape user experience inside of the space. This study reports on the use of placemaking as a tool for cataloging the experiences of space and place in digital, augmented, hybrid, and virtual places employed in games. Our presentation today focuses on the commonalities and contradictions in the experiences of space and place across genres. And specifically, my students are interested in the role of placemaking in each of fully digital games, MMORPGs, augmented reality games, and virtual reality games. Places and spaces that we've assessed so far in this study include spaces of play in fully digital sports games like NBA 2K and FIFA 20, both of which we'll hear about today, and action adventure games, Red Dead Redemption 2, MMORPGs like Fortnite and World of Warcraft, augmented reality games like Pokemon Go and Clutivity, and immersive virtual games like Vader Immortal VR and Hologate Multiplayer VR. In our study, we're looking to see what happens when we start to explore these different types and genres of video games to see what commonalities exist between digital games, augmented games, and virtual games, and what differences a comparative study might show to us. We're particularly interested in your feedback today on ways that we might improve the project as we start to explore with 26 new textual analyses this coming spring. Today, I've invited 5 of my students from this past spring semester to share with you some of their findings about the video games that we've studied using placemaking, and some of the ways that placemaking has allowed them to explore their ideas inside of these video games more fully. Here they are.
My name is Patrick Rice. I am a senior communication studies major at Furman. For this project, I studied Red Dead Redemption 2, an open-world third-person or first-person shooter with single-player and multiplayer options. The game is absolutely massive, and because of that, it has very detailed spatial maps and objective markings that guide the player through storylines and side quests. Once the game is complete, the player can explore the entire digital space on their own, or play online with players from all around the world. In studying this from a placemaking standpoint, I really had to go in depth about what options were available in the space, and so I chose to do it through the multiplayer option. And what I learned was players can constantly play together by forming posses. It's a cowboy game, and with the posses, they can log off their console and come back and play with those people anytime they want if they're online, because they're in kind of like a clan or a group that played a game. Another is the games inside the games, which are really fun. I spent hours on them. One was poker, which was really fun. Online players can play poker together, so there's no bots or AI playing poker. It's all real bets with your in-game money, and it all feels like real life.
I'm Outten. I'm a senior at Furman University. For this project, I studied NBA 2K, a multiplayer game that can be played on an Xbox or PlayStation console. In 2K, there's a game mode called My Park. In My Park, you can use directional cues to navigate you through My Park. Socially, you can interact, talk, and connect with other users. Physically, there are haptics that allow you to get a better sense of touch through connection. One haptic is vibration. Vibration with the controller that allows you to enhance your gameplay in takeover mode.
Hi, my name is DeLuca. I'm a communication studies major at Furman University, and for this project, I chose to study FIFA 20. It is available on Xbox and PlayStation. FIFA 20, there is a field map where if you're playing against somebody, it shows a map of the entire field so that you can see your opponent's moves even when you may not be able to see exactly where they are on the actual screen in which you are trying to control your players. Also, there is a feature where if you play an online game, you are matched up with anyone who's connected to the internet anywhere in the world. And basically, you get sent to a game where only you and your opponent have access to the game. So it really creates a one-on-one competitive experience where it feels like you are only going against the other player and their team, and it really links you two in that way. And lastly, there is a feature where you get to create your own team. And when you do this, you get to train your players. And when you train your players, you're actually sent to another place in the FIFA world. And this allows the user to feel that they are really moving throughout the game, and it creates different dimensions that really makes you feel like you're going from place to place. I think the coolest part about FIFA is you can spend so much money on your setup, your technology, but I believe it really offers almost the same experience to anyone from who buys the latest or has just a regular old TV. I believe it offers that kind of same experience that really allows all players to have fun with the game and really, move throughout the game in ways that I think other games wouldn't unless you have certain equipment.
I'm Selena Taborn. I'm a senior communication studies at Furman, and for this project, I studied the game Fortnite. Fortnite allows one player to play with up to 100 players. Fortnite is available on PlayStation, Xbox, Windows, Nintendo Switch, Android, iOS devices, and so many others. Fortnite displays an agency center in the game, which uses a map to help locate certain things or users that you go against. The map helps connect other players' view on where they need to go or who they will face. And also something cool I learned while studying this game is how important the on-screen components are when you play and how the on-screen components help lead you to victory.
Hi, my name is Meachem, and I'm a recent graduate of Furman University. For this project, I studied the app Pokemon Go and its relation to the placemaking theory. Pokemon Go is a fascinating app which seamlessly intertwines the physical and digital world for its audience. In my research, I looked specifically at one Pokestop, a place where players can battle each other's Pokemon and receive rewards as well. Although they are places within the game, these Pokestops pertain to the real-world surroundings as well, which is very important for the placemaking theory. The Pokestops can bring people together in areas of towns that would not normally be the hub of activity. They can also bring people together at spots that would be the hub of activity and that are full of shops and businesses and other social events. And that can help both themselves, the game, and the players, and the stores around them. It can bring people together to play Pokemon Go, and it can offer stores and businesses potential customers. Pokestops also offer Pokemon Go users a chance to learn more about the area in which they're standing. Many Pokestops are marked for certain places or buildings, and when a player clicks on it, they're offered some history about the Pokestop and the real-world area that it conveys within Pokemon Go. But overall, Pokemon Go's most important feature is probably the augmented reality, and that relates best to placemaking theory. The app does allow players to catch other Pokemon, battle other Pokemon via AR, and so it uses your phone camera while you're, trying to catch a Pokemon, and that way you can catch the Pokemon right on the street in front of you as if it's in real life right in front of you, even though it's just through your camera. And so I think that is super important for the placemaking theory and, to show how augmented reality is super important to the game. The study definitely taught me a lot about the game and how much of an impact an app can have on one area of the world. If you're not a frequent Pokemon Go player, you could just be out for a walk on the town and not even realize that you're standing right where players are battling and catching these Pokemon. It could be right in front of you and you'd have no idea. But for those who do play the game, many places, real places across the world, are now being shaped as digital places thanks to Pokemon Go.
Thank you to Patrick, Jaria, Ryan, Selena, and Cal for sharing some of their insights with us about video games studied through the lens of placemaking. Each one of these students selected a particular spot, a place or space inside of a video game to share with us about their findings related to orientation, direction, connection, and animation from the placemaking theory. My hope is that as we start to investigate and interrogate video games from a placemaking perspective, we can better understand the way that places and spaces use semiotics, both internal and external, as tools to get us to behave in certain ways and to get us to act out a performative inhabitation of the spaces that we encounter. Through this study, we're looking to see what happens inside of video games that can help us learn about what happens inside of spaces and places that are becoming increasingly augmented with physical, digital, hybrid, and virtual technologies everywhere we go in the world. Video games have given us a window to look at placemaking more broadly, and placemaking has given us a window to interrogate video games very specifically. As we continue our comparative study at Furman University, I hope that we'll be able to investigate the ways that place intersects with play in a really productive way. And I'm glad to have you join us in that endeavor.